Another week, another new DJI drone. And look, it just lands in your palm and it's nice and quiet.
Nice and quiet.
This is FocusCheck, the weekly Cinetech podcast.
Welcome to episode 90 of CineD FocusCheck. It's my pleasure to be back in the studio with Johnnie. How are you?
I'm very well. Nino, how are you? You've been coughing a little bit in the office. What's going on?
I'll try not to now. And it actually feels like it's the first time in a while that we've been sitting here. And I realized last week you did the interview with Pepe.
That's right.
The week before I had a long monologue.
That's right.
Because you were in LA. So it really is the first time in three weeks that we're talking.
And next week, actually, we're going to split again, but still do the podcast together. I'll be in Tokyo.
Okay.
In Interby, you'll be here, and then we're gonna try and do something nice together, talking about. Yeah, good.
But because we haven't talked about news and reviews in a while, there's a little bit more to cover today. Not that our show is usually short, but yeah. So today we'll talk about the new DJI Neo 2, which was literally just announced. Their new, really entry level. That's kind of the lowest entry level drone they have. They have a lot of small drones now, but this is the real entry level.
My kids would love it.
Well, we'll talk about it in a second. Sticking with DJI, we'll talk about their looming ban in the US as you are listening to this, probably around 40 days, DJI might be banned in the US because the government actually fails to begin the required audit. We'll also talk about the DJI Osmo Mobile 8, their newest version of the smartphone gimbal. We have it here in the office. I don't have it like here in the studio, but we'll talk about what's really new with this one. We'll also cover the Sony FX2 lab test that we just released, which a lot of people have been waiting for. Of course, dynamic range, latitude, and rolling shutter results. We'll talk about the new SIRUI Astra series of lenses, their world's first full-frame autofocus anamorphic lenses. We'll talk about a review you did on the Audiio LinkMatch 2.0 feature. We'll mention the Canon EOS R6 Mark III, which is also a new camera that was released, about a week ago. And we'll talk about our new course, the Efficient Filmmaker Scan and Plan, how to do 3D location scans with your phone for, pre-visualizations, shot planning, visual experiments, and more. That's something that a lot of filmmakers have probably never done, but it's extremely useful to kind of, really cover your location and learn about your location and know exactly the size and relations of everything on a location before you actually go filming there. We'll also take a look at the trailer, of course. We'll talk about the OFG Customs long shot, which is an optical adapter that brings full frame, large format, and Vista Vision lenses to 16 millimeter. So that's quite interesting. We'll talk about a webcam. Hollyland announced the Lyra 4K webcam. So webcams are 4K now too, I guess. That's interesting. Looks like an action cam, actually. We'll talk about a long article that I wrote about the Leica transformation, how they came out of the crisis and transformed from almost being bankrupt to being a quite successful company, and how this can maybe be a model for other traditional companies in the industry to manage the turnaround. We'll mention the IMAGO Oslo Digital Cinema Conference, which is going to be in Oslo next week with a lot of high-profile speakers. And I just want to mention this because it shows how much the high-end cinematographer crowd, which is, of course, IMAGO being the roof organization of all those cinematography associations around the world, how they are really taking AI seriously. Yeah. And despite all the pushback that we keep on getting when we report about that stuff, but you see that it really is affecting every level of the industry. We'll mention a design update to the CineD website because we decided to keep you posted more about what we are actually changing and enhancing all the time in the background. We'll mention the Atomos Ninja TX Go, which was recently announced, a new external recording monitor for, all kinds of cameras, but basically a new version. And the Honor robot phone, which is a concept, I would say, but it's going to be a real product of the Chinese cell phone manufacturer Honor, which announced like a Osmo Pocket 3 built into a phone.
Genius.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we'll mention the Rodecaster Video S, which was just announced, a baby version of the Rodecaster Video. All right, let's get started with the drone. So the Neo, we were just talking about it before. I mean, it's been on the market for a while, maybe a year, maybe a little bit more. The original Neo kind of replaced the Mini as their entry-level drone, and also it replaced the Spark, which was their, like almost toy-like entry-level drone. And when I say entry-level, I mean not even just the category 249 grams, because that's what the Mini is, which is this magical weight that it's kind of like below 250 grams, which means that drones below that are flying below a lot of regulations, which means in a lot of countries you can actually fly without permission in a lot of places. And this one takes it to the next step. Now, the original Neo was 135 grams. This one is a little bit heavier, 150, around that. But it's still, with this digital receiver, it's 160, but it's still very much, the lightest drone out there. I mean, if you carry this, is nothing. Yeah. Also, like, just to bring it along somewhere.
It's really like a pocket drone.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it has the lens guards built, the prop guards built in, so you cannot actually use it without. It's talking to me.
Yeah, it has its own.
I keep pressing stuff. But it's basically, yes, it looks like a toy, but I think in terms of image upgrades, they've done quite a good job. So now this is the original Neo it did 4K, but 4K 30 was the max, and now you can do 4K 100 frames per second when you're using the remote control. You do not have to use a remote control. You can, of course, still control it only with a phone via Wi-Fi. Now Wi-Fi always has a.
Can you switch this thing
I keep
off?
pressing stuff. Yeah, let me switch it off. You can use it just with your phone. But of course, I mean, there's always a bit of latency when you use Wi-Fi, and also the range is, of course, not that great. I mean, because it's the Wi-Fi range. It also means that it maxes out at 4K 60 frames per second. That is probably because of that latency and the limitations in bandwidth that you get because of that. It can now do 2.7K vertical, where it was 1080 vertical before, with 60 frames per second. And the greatest thing, in my opinion, is two things. First of all, it's now a 2-axis mechanical gimbal, tilt and roll, where it used to be only a 1-axis gimbal. So stabilization was a lot more reliant on post-stabilization, of course. That's a huge upgrade. And that is very important for beginners and people who are probably buying this drone. It now has more omnidirectional sensing, because the original one literally only looked at what's below it. And
do you think it's an evolution or revolution?
It's an evolution, because revolution. What is a revolution? A revolution would be a completely new concept that makes something entirely new. It's not. It's taking it to the next step in a typical DJI way. They're upgrading the drone, and like they have done on many other drones before. If you remember, the Mini, also the original Mini, didn't have any obstacle sensing, which was always funny because
it was an entry level without obstacle sensing.
Exactly, which is a total entry level feature, because if you are flying this and you can literally fly it into a person without the drone stopping automatically, that is difficult for somebody who has never used a drone, especially when you have higher end drones that have that feature already. But I understand why it was difficult, because of course it means they need to build in more sensors, more cameras, which are not for recording, but for sensing. But now there's a LiDAR, there's top and bottom camera, so it actually is possible now with this one.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about the pricing and availability?
What's new? Well, there's a few more important things. It's this palm control thing, so you can basically. It has a display in front, and this display actually shows you when it's switched on what kind of mode it's in. So that is because if you're using it without a controller, you can gesture at the drone, and you see already, okay, now it is, I can see this is the rocket mode, and I can make some kind of gesture, and it will automatically go off and do that without using a controller.
It's coming with a magnifying glass, or
No,
because it's so small.
fine.
Really?
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you just need to put on your glasses.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like you can make a gesture, and it will do one of those or several of those different modes and make an automatic shot of you, which is of course really targeted at people who go hiking or biking or whatever, and they just do a gesture without using their phone or a controller, and it will automatically follow them or circle them or do that kind of stuff. And also you saw it at the intro of this podcast that it literally just lands as soon as you put your palm below it, it will land in your palm. And it's, as opposed to most of the other drones that DJI has, it's not a dangerous endeavor, because I mean the lens guards will, the prop guards will literally protect your hand. So
that's
also for
enough to do
takeoff.
this, and it will.
You will just put, you just put your palm and it will land. It's very easy. And of course, I mean, everything around this is designed so you don't actually have to use a controller. So that
sounds like really a lot of fun. Really, that sounds finally like a product you can give your kids to start to explore the whole, like a full feeling of how it is to fly a drone without killing anybody.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, because it's so light, it's also quite easy to stop and start it in the air. This is something that you only realize when you use a lot of those drones, like I have, and you see that. Like if you have something in the air that's 1.5 kilos or something, it takes a lot longer to stop. Like even if you stop using the remote, it's just that like the kind of the way of braking is not as easy. With this one, it just literally will stop. You
have any news about the battery capacity in terms of how long it can fly?
Good question. Let me check. Well, it's I haven't tested it, but it says. It's a 1,600 milliamp hour battery, where it used to be like 150 amp hours less, or 170. 70-minute charge time. It takes quite a while to charge, to be honest. I tried. I mean, there's a very small charger in the Fly More kit, which charges all three, not simultaneously, but sequentially. And but it takes a while to get it full if you like use this, because they don't actually ship a charger. So it's just USB-C, of course. How long it is in the air, I don't know. We have to check, but I can find out. Now what's interesting is the built-in memory. Also, this is something that all the latest DJI drones now come with built-in memory, which is always nice. So even if you don't have an SD card, you can still fly. Actually, this one might not even have the. Does it have an? I don't even. It's something. It's something that you don't even check anymore, because I really use those drones a lot with the built-in memory, even the Mavic 4 Pro and so on, because it's usually the highest capacity you can record is only to the internal memory. With this one, let me check in a second. But this now has 49 gigabytes of internal storage. So it's quite a lot. You can literally record for hours. I mean, it's 175 minutes in 4K 30. So,
nice.
Yeah. I'm still talking. 3, 2, 1. See? Maybe I should read the manual. Should I?
Sometimes.
I just pressed the button and it...
Aircraft landing automatically.
Oh, thank you.
It's almost like as the easiest it's supposed to be. You need a manual for it.
Let me just take out the battery, just to be safe. That was.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
nice
I need to still try it out a bit more. But yeah, so it's a really comprehensive little package again. But yeah, it's an evolution for sure. I mean, it's really a beginner friendly. Follow me camera drone. That's how they also market it, and I'm still a little bit confused by their lineup, to be honest, because the Mini is not the entry level anymore. It's also called Mini Pro now. So
let's not go into the names, because that was always confusing.
Yeah,
but we discussed about it.
Yeah. So let me just check about because I want to know too about the SD card, to be honest. I don't think it has
Well, if it would be here somewhere.
media. Yeah, so
I guess it's all about built-in memory, and that's it.
yeah, I don't even see a slot for the SD. A lot of people might comment on this. No, it's here, but I don't actually see it. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, nobody needs more than 170 minutes. I mean, the only downside of internal memory is, of course, always you don't always offload when you land, right? So there's always this bit of danger. If you use this a whole day and you do like a multiple starts and stops, and then you crash it at some point, you can't reach it anymore, you lose your entire day's worth of footage. And that's annoying, of course, because with an SD card, you can just take it out.
You can't have it all, and it is for what it is. Yeah. I like the size, I like the look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice Christmas present.
Nice Christmas present, but also, again, I think in terms of quality, it will be fine for, a lot of simple shots.
Now, will you be able to buy this in the US?
I don't know yet. I mean, let me check what the information we got. Now, it's a nice segue, of course, to I don't think it will be available in the US because the prices that I got are only British pounds, euro, and Australian dollars. So there's no dollars mentioned. So I guess it's not officially available in the US. Now, talk about pricing. The bare bones drone with one battery will cost a 209 British pounds or 239 euros. It's extremely cheap, 409 Australian dollars. And if you get the Fly More package, it's 100 more around. So 329 euros, including VAT, I guess. That's very cheap. I mean, that's a drone with 3 batteries. And then there's also a version of the Fly More, which has the controller. And then it's 400 euros because, the controller isn't cheap. But
okay.
Yeah. So comprehensive little package. Let me check one last thing, which if it actually shoots log, I don't know. Does it do log? No, I don't think so. It's not mentioned in the specs, so I don't think it does D-Log M, which the Mini does, of course. So yeah. All right, but let's move on to more DJI news, of course. Now, we've reported about this a couple times before that DJI is facing a US ban because there was supposed to be an audit by the Senate, I think, or House of Representatives, actually, in the US, and it's never happened. That's the thing. I mean, this has been looming for over a year, I think. And what is... You can see the urgency now that DJI is posting on their official Instagram, asking people to kind of act on their behalf, because under this FY 25 National Defense Authorization Act, Congress is set to set the December 23rd, 2025, so just a day before Christmas Eve, as a deadline. As a formal national, until then they should do a formal national security review of Chinese-made drones, including DJI. And if it doesn't happen, that's the interesting part. DJI will automatically be added to FCC's covered list, which would effectively ban access to DJI products. And it sounds like all DJI products, not
also
just
the
drones.
robots, also the cleaners, and you.
And the Ronin 4D and the gimbals and everything to the US. That's crazy. And
okay, so now DJI is asking the people to support them by...
Yeah, they are saying that DJI would be banned from launching any new products in the US market, and existing DJI products could still be used. But even this new list could prevent any further purchases of DJI products, even those already available. So effectively... no DJI products could be bought anymore in the US. Now, what they've done, this audit has never started, and what they've done, they have started a website, which, if you go to the website, it looks like it has no DJI branding. Let me just open the Drone Advocacy Alliance. It has no DJI branding whatsoever. like it looks like a completely, like a neutral website. But if you go to the About page, you can see that it's non-partisan, drone agnostic, whatever, grassroots advocacy, but it is funded by DJI. I mean, actually, maybe they removed that now. But when I checked it the first time, you could see that this is maintained by DJI. And of course, within about 80% market share, nobody else has to lose as much as DJI with this. So what they're trying to do now, they're trying to urge US citizens, drone users in the US and so on, to contact their Congress people to really get them going with a drone security audit. They seem very confident that they will be fine if the audit happens. I mean, this is all about drones, that there's this threat or concern on the side of US lawmakers that Chinese-made drones are basically phoning home, and, like delivering surveillance data and whatever to the Chinese, to DJI and also to the Chinese government. DJI insists that this is not the case. They don't seem to be concerned about the audit. They just want it to happen. So they literally, I mean, it seems a little bit desperate, to be honest. I mean, which is understandable.
Because it's a last minute thing.
It's a last minute thing. I mean, it's like you get, even if you click on resources, it's like a printable flyer, with a big QR code. They want you to print that flyer and distribute it. I mean, it's really, I don't think, it looks like they have less of a lobby than a lot of other companies in the US. Even foreign companies, but it seems like really the clock is ticking, and it's just over a month away. So let's see what happens. Let's hope it won't happen. But
we will keep following this. It's actually an interesting story altogether. Because just to remind the audience, DJI is doing not only drones for filmmaking. Of course, they have so many other drones that actually supposed to help the authorities themselves from spotting
disasters.
Exactly. So, and I'm not so sure that there are any drones made in the US to replace those.
There's only a few. There's Audiio, which is now focusing on B2B customers, which is doing that kind of stuff. But the real question is that, is this something that's really about security, or is this something where there is somebody else lobbying the government to do that because they want to kind of have the market for themselves?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge here. The difficulty in this case, unlike many other industries, there's not that much competition. I mean, because DJI is just covering so much of that market. Yeah. There's rarely any other industry where you have an 80% market share of any one company. So, but you could already see, I think, with the latest announcement that DJI made, I think, first of all, they've pushed a couple of announcements. We've seen this in the past where, like embargo dates were lifted later because they maybe were hoping that then they would move into a time where it's allowed to sell a product in the US again. At some point they realized it's not going to happen, so they just launched the product. And also they've been going into markets that are definitely or most likely not going to be. I mean, if there's a total ban on DJI products, it's a different story anyway. But they just launched a vacuum cleaner. I mean, it's like they really are going into different. And you see this with a lot of Chinese companies in general. I mean, you have other companies that are now like phone manufacturers that are now making cars. Huawei and many others, but and Insta360 also making different stuff that is not necessarily just a camera. So, but they're trying to diversify. But in any case, let's see what happens. We'll follow and keep following this story. Yep. But if you are in the US and if you wanna, try to influence the situation, you can follow their guidance and just contact your lawmakers, because you might be affected by this if you are using a drone in the US for sure. And you can already see it. I mean, if you want to buy something like a Mavic 4 Pro, you can actually buy it. It's actually on B&H now, but it costs you like $1,000 or $1,500 more than anybody else in the world, because it's like a second market kind of thing. I don't know how, but DJI is probably not allowed to buy it directly, so they buy it through a reseller. So maybe I don't know how it works, but you can still buy it. It's not that it's banned now, but it's a lot more expensive, and that's not because of the customs. That's not the tariffs, right? That's this problem. Anyway, all right. Another new DJI product that was announced is the Osmo Mobile 8 smartphone gimbal. Now, smartphone gimbals, they've been around for quite a while. There's been a lot of different generations. I mean, this is literally the 8th generation of this. Not something we necessarily always follow. Just recently, I reviewed the Hohem, what is it called? I'm very bad with names. I mentioned it in the article. iSteady V3 Ultra. Yeah. Very nice handheld smartphone gimbal. And literally haven't looked at this category for years. And I was amazed that, the face tracking and all that stuff is very good now. Now, DJI announced a product that's very similar. It's very similar to the Hohem product, but it doesn't have a little display. It does have the little tracking module. It doesn't
also open.
It does also have the extension built in. You have this extension rod built in. You also have this little tracking module with a light. So that's the same. But what's different and what's added now is it has support for Apple DockKit. And what is that? So basically, through the MagSafe connection at the back, without actually you connecting the phone physically through a cable to the gimbal, you get access to face tracking and all kinds of things through an Apple technology that is natively built into the camera app. So the phone can actually talk to the gimbal through that Apple DockKit, and it communicates through the MagSafe, which is amazing. So you have the tracking, and it is connected directly to the phone without actually connecting it with a cable. So it makes it very easy and quick to set up, of course, because it just literally put the phone in and it's done. Yeah, you can start tracking. So that's great. And that also means that it supports gestures and all that kind of stuff, where you can, just make hand gestures similar to the DJI drone actually, and it will start recording and do stuff like that. So that's quite nice. And also, this also has a built-in stand, also similar to the Hohem. So you don't need to attach a stand anymore. It's built in. And
Did you see anybody using that stuff? I mean, honestly speaking, it's you see many people, of course, with mobile phones. But
I see creators sometimes, like at events. I see people, like marketing people from agencies.
Because I see them all with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 also, running around, which is kind of a competitor to this kind of concept.
That's
just
true.
As
even smaller.
Exactly, smaller and in one package.
Actually, while we talk about that, should we already talk about the Honor phone? So, I mean, just to kind of round this up. So this is available now, and it's only $150. I mean, it's very cheap. This is available in the US. So this, for some reason, this DJI product, I mean, maybe right now only the drones are affected, but this you can buy for normal price also in the US.
Okay. You want to talk about the phone quickly with the gimbal? So
exactly. Because we're already on the topic of Pocket 3, let's talk about the Honor robot phone camera. So this is something we covered about 2 weeks ago. There was a video launched by the Chinese cell phone manufacturer Honor. And it's a completely AI generated video, which, raised some eyebrows because
but we don't care about this.
Well, a lot of people cared about it. That's why I want to mention it. So the product you're seeing is not actually filmed. It's still something that's, probably being in pre-production or whatever. But they are teasing a robot phone. So basically a built-in small gimbal, like the Osmo Pocket 3, built into the phone. And I mean, the whole video is a bit weird because it's like WALL-E, or, from the Pixar movie, and it's quite clearly, and everything in this video is AI generated, which is a bit strange. But so the product doesn't actually exist yet. They are planning to announce this at the Mobile Phone Congress in Barcelona next year. And I think the idea is good. I mean, it's really a completely new thing for a phone, where phones honestly haven't changed at all within, like in how they look over the last 10 years, I would say. But they only got bigger screens and smaller bezels.
Where do you see,
Or
like, what
shorter.
type of use cases you see for that? I mean, for me, for example, we can see many times that actually the phone itself is the one to serve as a stand, which is great, like on the table, and then you use. But for example, I really wonder if this is something that will have like a larger sensor built in.
I mean,
for
they're not
example.
marketing this against creators. It's more like AI, whatever. So it's kind of reacting to you and almost like your pal, which makes the whole video so weird. It's just like a spy in your pocket. But as a camera, of course, it would be nice. I mean, just to have the ability to have this built in, to just get stabilized, like properly mechanically stabilized gimbal shots, which is not just post stabilization from something like this. And maybe it's also possible to put a bigger sensor in something like this as opposed to the built-in camera.
Exactly. Anything that it can enhance, which is not built into the phone itself, camera-wise.
Yeah. I
would
mean,
be
it's
very interesting.
It's interesting. I honestly have to say this must be a very thick phone. If you look at because this is like, if you see how they are planning to fold this into the back, if you look at how thick that thing is, this must be like 1.5 centimeters thick.
But you see, it's like an Sony Alpha sign at the end. It's very interesting.
I think it's,
what happened there?
yeah.
Okay.
The
The concept is interesting. We'll see if it will see the light, if it will come into flotation in any way. And this is another thing to follow.
We wrote about and speculated what it could mean for a creator and filmmaker and how you could use this and how you could easily create, B-roll and stuff like that if you have this, as opposed to the normal phone camera, which is always a bit of a shape problem also in terms of like angling it and so on. But let's see. I like the fact that somebody is actually trying to be innovative with, putting two popular products together and maybe make something new. I'm very skeptical if this will actually be as useful as they are claiming it will be, because I think there will be quite some practical limitations in terms of like, if it's very thick, it's basically, it's not going to be very convenient to carry around as your main phone, and then it probably defeats the purpose. But let's see. What it will be. All right. Let's move on to the Sony FX2 lab test. You want to start?
I will just start and then we will continue together. So finally, it took us a little bit of time, but now we have the Sony FX2 lab test ready. We tested, of course, the rolling shutter, dynamic range, and exposure latitude. I have to say that, guys, that's one thing which has to be clear with all our lab tests. The lab test, we are pointing the camera into charts and, of course, checking it later. But there is also the image, and the image that is coming out of the Sony FX2 in general is very nice. It's a modern camera, and funny enough, I know many of you didn't like the camera when it came out, but more and more people that are using the camera, especially because of the EVF, we really like the usability and the video coming out of it. The thing is, so first of all, in our lab test, the rolling shutter is quite severe. And this is really surprising. In terms of dynamic range, it's good. We checked both in the 800 ISO and 4000 ISO. Nothing especially to write home about. You get around 13.5 stops in SNR1 and 2.4 in SNR2. So it's okay. I mean, it's fine. Nothing again to rave about. And in the
but it's better than the FX3 result.
Yeah, because
it's
it's
important to know, because this is kind of the small brother, right?
Yeah, but it is better. And also, in all honesty, I like the image that's coming out of this camera better than the FX3. But that's me. Then in the latitude test, I can of course let you talk about the test itself. But what we encounter here, and that's maybe the main thing, is that you can see from 4 stops under that there is a certain line that actually dividing the picture. You have like 3/3 of the upper picture is okay, and then on the lower part you can see that the kind of color is changing. And the thing is that this is very evident on a flat color, like I'm wearing a black shirt, so you can really see this. probably when you're filming like moving images and different colors and so on, maybe it will not jump immediately. Like when I filmed the review, it's not that I saw this even. Yeah.
Well, you did not underexpose. I mean, this is only when you underexpose 4 stops and then push it back to normal.
Exactly. And then it becomes evident that there is something a little bit off with the sensor. We don't know if it's the calibration of the sensor or whatever, but it doesn't matter. The thing is that it's evident, and we see this with other cameras also. We saw this in the past with the GFX102, for example. But
it's basically an extension of this. So we have always this white paper in here.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of making if you look at it, it's exactly on that line. So it's somehow confused by that.
It's like reflecting something into the sensor, this white paper.
Yeah. I mean, how does Gunther define it? It's like some sort of line is splitting the image visible as a horizontal line from the bottom of the white paper on the left going across to the right. Now, this phenomenon can happen if the pixel density on a sensor is very high and an electrical charge impacts neighboring pixels. In this case, due to the harsh horizontal transition from the gray background to the white piece of paper. But we haven't seen this in Sony cameras so far, right? It's interesting that it's now in a...
Yeah, I don't think we have seen it. Let me just double check this. But in any case, this is something that you will not see on everyday usage, but it's good to know that it's there. We also, again, for complete transparency, we forwarded Sony our findings here, and we hope that something can be done with this thing, at least for the future. Yeah.
Now it's Gunther writes that because of that we define that you have kind of 7 stops of usable exposure latitude on the FX2. It would be 9 if this issue didn't happen. Now there is something, like you said, we had this. The best results that we had so far is the A9 III.
From Sony cameras, yeah.
So the clear leader of the pack for the exposure latitude test currently in our results is the Panasonic Lumix S1 II, which exhibited solid 10 stops of exposure latitude, even with some room towards 11 stops using internal 12-bit ProRes RAW with DR boost mode on, which we have to say this also results in a quite severe rolling shutter of 27.5 milliseconds, which is the exact same value that the FX2 exhibits. However, as far as I understand, there is no other mode for the FX2, so you cannot avoid that. So you always have a very bad rolling shutter if you use the full frame sensor. However, of course, I mean, did you in the actual practical filming? Did you notice severe rolling shutter, or not really?
I think you
didn't film buses.
Not
driving
buses, but trains. That's how I usually do it in Japan. I try to film trains because it's all the time there. You don't have to wait for the train. The train is waiting for you, and and in all honesty, you also, at least me, I learned to live with the rolling shutter. It's almost like we are the rolling shutter age. You know what I mean? What can you do? I mean, it's there with so many cameras.
Well, if there's good in-body stabilization, I mean, it's not that big of an issue, right?
Well, again, it depends what you're doing. And I guess I will not do fast sport action with this one, but still for run and gun and timing the pen that you need to do, it is an issue. Of course, we wish it was not I was not expecting it to be so severe in a way, but yeah, it is what it is.
So basically, the rolling shutter performance is quite, mediocre. However, the latitude results are quite decent.
Yeah.
Minus the horizontal line issue, which you might run into if you underexpose and then push it back. That's right. However, we like the image, and as you saw in Johnny's review, it looks very beautiful.
Image and usability.
Yeah.
And I know many of you guys you keep writing me, Johnny, what do you have with this EVF stuff? Yeah, just move on. So...
Short. I know what you have. You're nearsighted.
Yeah, but it has also nothing to do with this. It's like that's part of my own workflow, and I think it's quite funny when manufacturers are trying to convince us when they come up with cameras without EVF, that this is according to the demand from the market, based on market research that they did. And then 1 year later, they will come up with a camera with an EVF saying, hey, look at this, we have an EVF. So
it's almost like they take something away from you and then they give it back and say it's a great feature.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, that's a good example of what you just said, right? I mean, they originally told us that the demand people don't ask for an EVF, and then they bring out a camera
that's for
which
example,
has an EVF 5 years later.
In this one. And that's also, that can also take us to the Canon EOS R6 Mark III camera that was just announced, a week ago or something like this.
Yeah.
And this camera is a good example because obviously we can't, let's say it differently. Obviously, some of the features, the video features in this camera are extremely similar to the EOS C50, which we already reviewed. And I'm talking about 7K, I'm talking about open gate, and a lot of modern features, which is really great to see in a hybrid mirrorless camera like that. Just to remind everybody, the EOS C50 doesn't have an EVF. And the big advantage in this camera, that of course, because it's a hybrid mirrorless camera, it does have an EVF. But since it's a hybrid and not a cinema type camera, it does suffer from overheating. And it's nice to see that at least Canon was extremely transparent and giving all the information with the testing that they did about how many minutes you can run until you run into an issue. But all in all, I think this is a very, it's in a way, it's a bit of a promising camera. I'll put my hands on this camera in Japan just to, because again, it's a valid candidate for camera of the year that we will have to talk about probably in 2-3 more episodes of our podcast. But just to summarize, so a lot of the features are exactly like in the EOS C50, including the 7K RAW up to 60p, 4K 120p, open gate full sensor, various 10-bit 4:2 video formats, full-size HDMI, unlike the competitors. You have waveform and electronic leveling to see clearly where you are, C-Log 2 and C-Log 3, low pass filter, and the list goes on. But I think all in all, it is an interesting camera, and this will set you back for $2,800. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to try this and really see how fast it's overheats and if there's anything that can be done about it. And in this regard, it's just a pity. Currently, Canon does not allow external recording via the USB-C to SSDs, for example. And imagine if that could have been done, that maybe will even solve the issue of
overheating. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to some lens stuff. So you had a look, I mean, not reviewed yet, but we just got access to the new SIRUI Astra series, which are the world's first T1.8 full frame autofocus anamorphic lenses.
Yeah, that's right. So first of all, SIRUI is really moving forward with charter new fields, and this time it's the world first anamorphic 133 anamorphic lenses. And so far, I have to say that I like what I see. This is still not the final firmware installed on those lenses. So also the performance is still not 100%, but not on all lenses. Some lenses are here, the 75 and the 100 are performing really well. The 50 still needs a bit of adjustment with the firmware, but we will get the firmware. So just to summarize, we have those 3 lenses right now. I know that many of you will ask why SIRUI is starting with 50mm. This is also something that I asked the company. They do have 40 and 20mm autofocus anamorphic lenses, but those are only APS-C. I think their intention is eventually to have even a wider focal length, but for now that's what we have, and those will come in L mount. Those are the ones that we have here, and also Z mount. So some of the features are really nice, and one thing to clarify, those lenses are not coming to imitate, let's say, 1.5x look, unlike other lenses in our industry. I also asked SIRUI about this, why it's like that. And then I found out a piece of interesting information. Apparently, in order to make 1.3 lenses to look like 1.5, you need to create some oval shape on the end side of the lens, probably around the aperture. And apparently, this is patented by engineer. So this is maybe nothing that can be done without a permission, and this is quite interesting.
But haven't we seen this also?
We've seen it with other companies that are claiming 1.3 with a look of 1.5. But it's not that I'm 100% sure how they do this, and it's their thing. Basically, I just asked SIRUI why this specific lens, if it's 1.3, why doesn't exhibit like a 1.5 look? And they said in order to achieve this, as I said, you need a specific thing to play a little bit in with an oval shape aperture, and this is obviously currently protected. I have in mind some other ways to do this. I don't know if you remember, guys, in the old days, we had a company, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, and they literally, they were manufacturing kind of a little stickers in an oval shape that you could put those stickers on actually spherical lenses. So, of course, my criminal mind was immediately thinking, what happened if I find those stickers somewhere and I try to put it on those lenses?
Well, we have a whole course on this on MZ, Anamorphic it until you make it from Tito.
Sure, but I don't want to fake anamorphic look on a spherical lens. I want to actually enhance the 1.3 to 1.5.
It's essentially the same principle.
Yeah. But I will try this, and of course I will report. Anyway, so those lenses are will be very soon. When on this Friday, I mean tomorrow, they will go on a crowdfunding campaign, and the prices are extremely competitive. One second, I just want to show because see here, those will be sold for $7.99 instead of $9.99
per lens.
And there will be E mount, L mount, and Z mount. You will have different type of flares, natural flare, and where is this now? And blue flare. Mm-hmm. You will have those two choices, and you will be able also to buy a whole kit of those 3 lenses for $2,399 instead of $2,999, and that will come with a free $99 worth of case, basically, for those.
So the main question that everybody's waiting for: what are you going to film with them?
I haven't decided yet what I'm going to film with them, but just to kind of a little surprise, we will actually have a little celebration before the launch on Friday. We will have a live stream together with SIRUI to celebrate the launch of those lenses. We will have an open discussion, live streaming. You guys, please join us and ask the questions. We will have more technical information about those lenses. I'll be happy to answer whatever you want to hear. And there will also be nice giveaways that we will, SIRUI will give one 20mm anamorphic lens, APS-C, and 10 small tripods. So join us. The live stream will go 2:30 CET. This is European time. Calculate backward to the US or forward to Japan, for example. But we will be here, and we're looking forward. I'm looking forward to see you and continue the discussion about those lenses then.
So 5 a.m. for everybody who's on the West Coast in the US.
Come on, guys. I'm sure you're waking up at 4, you run, you do your exercise, take a shower, and then you're ready for the live event. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Looking forward to that. And let's move on to Audio LinkMatch 2.0. So what is LinkMatch AI?
So I've been reviewing. Let me just get the review quickly because I want to be accurate with what I do. First of all, Audiio is one of those companies that is allowing you to have a license, like a licensed music to some of the productions you are doing. we've been working with them, using for quite a while, and we like what those guys are doing. And they came up, you know, the times when you actually want, you have a song in mind and you want something similar for your production. You know that you simply can't afford the original, because where do you even start? And that will be very expensive or probably not possible. So they came up with this matching system that you literally copy paste the link, either YouTube, Spotify, doesn't matter, for something that you like to hear, and then their AI generated backend system will find songs from their library which are matching.
But it's songs that are already there.
Yeah, songs that are already there on their library.
Okay, so with a similar rhythm.
Exactly. And I have to say, you know, I took 3 different scenarios, 3 different songs. One is from Coldplay, which personally I like, and they have a song which is called Coloratura, and this song is almost unknown from whatever reason, and it's it's a 10 minutes piece. And I always said to myself, I really want to use that type of song in one of my reviews, productions, because you know how it is. What is a production without music? Finally, I put it into the LinkMatch, and I was really surprised to see that I get some results. Of course, it's not one-on-one, because otherwise it's a complete copy, but you get results. And if you can see also in the review itself, you have like, I don't know, between 14 to 20 something results, and some of them, in them you get those blue signs, so you can see where it's matching to the original.
Oh, okay, so.
And I have to say that some of the results were really good. It has the feeling of the same thing. Yeah? So it's not one-on-one, but the feeling was absolutely there. And that was a good test. And then I took something a bit more demanding. I tried Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen, which is very challenging, because that song alone, it's a genius thing, but it has so many like 3-in-1 rhythm changes and so on. And here the results were, to my taste, a bit less appealing. Yeah, I couldn't find what I was looking for, so I put it aside. And then I moved to another song which actually sang, originally it was English, French and Hebrew by Yuval Raphael, I think, and that was sang in the Eurovision Song Contest in 2025. And I was shocked with the results that I got were so similar. Again, it was amazing to see that this tool can find those equivalent matches. Yeah, so saved me hours basically to look what I'm after, like if I have the idea. And you can of course tweak it and do a bit more, but it's very nice. Yeah, well done. What can I say? When there's a tool that can save so much time, as long as you know what you're looking for. Yeah.
Do you know how big their library is? Like how many songs do they have?
No, I can't remember how long they.
Because it must be a huge library if you find so many matching songs.
I can't tell you, Nino. I don't know. What I can tell you that this option of the LinkMatch 2.0 is included in the Pro and Enterprise subscription offers, and you guys, as our readers, you can get 70% off on the first year on the Audio Pro. We have the link and what you have to do. Yeah, but check it out before you commit to anything. Before you put your money, check if it's working for you. Take a song. I hope you can even check it. I hope Audio is smart enough to let you check. See if you like it, and I was highly impressed.
Cool. All right, let's move on to a new course that we launched on MZ recently. It's under our Efficient Filmmaker series, and it's called Scan and Plan. Now, this is something a little bit different. So the Efficient Filmmaker series, the whole idea is to use AI-guided tools for workflow enhancements. We already have a course for automatic transcriptions and translations. So we go through all the NLE systems and how to do most effectively automatic transcriptions, how to correct them, how to get translations into different languages and to get subtitles and captions for all kinds of languages in a relatively easy way, looking at all the different NLEs. It's Premiere, DaVinci, Final Cut, and even Avid. Then we have one on masking, automatic masking. Of course, looking at DaVinci also, and Final Cut Pro. Now, this will be updated soon because we keep updating those courses, with DaVinci having a even better version with DaVinci 20.2, I think, they enhanced their masking tool quite significantly, and we'll take Masha is going to take another look at this. And also Premiere is adding finally a good automatic masking tool to video masking. But the third course that we just launched, Scan and Plan, is doing something completely different. It's basically making 3D models of real environments. So what we did for this course is actually in this studio, we shot the course, and she was using her phone to scan the studio and myself to make a 3D model of it. And why do you need that? Well, multiple things. So this technology is called Gaussian splatting, and it essentially makes like a point cloud out of everything. So you scan with your phone, and then you have like an environment like this, which you can freely move around like it is an actual 3D object. Why is this interesting for filmmakers? Well, you can plan any shots. You can, if you go on locations, as opposed to just taking some stills of your location and then trying to figure out when you're back home, where did I actually take this? What angle? How big is the space? You know, all those things that are very difficult to determine. Based on photos, it's extremely hard to decide where to take shots, because it's almost impossible to remember the exact distances, and it always depends on the focal length you use for your photos and so on. With this, it's easy because you scan an environment and you get a result that is absolutely perfect in terms of like the size, the distances. You can make a full shot list based on this from your location. You can even, you can use these tools to define, okay, I want to do a 50 millimeter here and get a shot from there. It's perfect for location scouting, and you could even do full storyboards and shot lists based on 3D models that you created yourself by doing this with your phone. And Masha is explaining in a very nice way how this can be done. And it sounds very complicated, but it's not. I mean, it's literally taking your phone and pointing it in all different directions until this model is complete. And then based on this model, you can go further with your shot planning. It's called Scan and Plan, and it's a visual lab for, shot production basically, and it's now available on MZ. It's about a 1 hour course. It's also going to be updated regularly, and it's part of our MZ Pro subscription, which you can get as a monthly or annual subscriber. Extremely useful. All right, let's move on to OFG Customs Longshot, an optical adapter that brings full frame, large format Vista Vision lenses to 16mm. What is it?
Old fast glass, OFG. What they did here is literally knowing that there are still people who are filming on 16mm film. And of course, in order to not to be restricted with certain glasses, they are together with Gray Lang, they developed a system that actually on one hand can be connected to the Super 16mm camera, and on the other hand you can literally put full frame, large format, even Vista Vision lenses, and then keep the field of view, but also get this aesthetic that we all really all want from a large sensor cameras. And
so it's a speed booster, essentially.
It's kind of a speed booster, or even it's a combination of a speed booster and the old optical adapters that we used to use on cameras with very small sensors, if you remember, before DSLRs came to the market.
But that was a rotating
That's
thing.
right. I'm not saying that the system is the same, but the end idea is the same. It's basically have a look, the final look of the video, look completely different from what the camera itself is offering. And I have to say that what we see here from the Super 16 images that they supplied together with this adapter, it looks gorgeous. I really encourage people to look at the images, and it's very adaptable. You can really put so many lenses in front of it, and obviously yeah, this is something I'm just in my mind thinking if this is something that can also be adapted to other cameras, but Super 16.
So you want to shoot film now? 16
No,
mil film?
no. Not that I want to shoot a film, but I'm just saying this is such a nice adapter that I hope that the company will think even further how they can implement it on other systems. It's just nice. It's just a very nice thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of those typical products that was built by real cinematographers, like
That's
for
right,
a specific need.
Yeah, cinematographer long, as we said before. And you have, of course, more information in the OFG website.
This is rental only, no?
I think it's a rental only thing.
Yeah.
But it's not that I personally know anybody who's shooting on Super 16, but maybe, of course, maybe many of you are shooting Super 16, and
I wouldn't say many, a few.
A few, yeah. I don't know.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. We actually have something else maybe for next week when we talk about cinematographer-made lens technology, right?
Yeah.
Something in preparation, which is also going to be very interesting. A affordable lens, 3D printed lens by somebody who, just found a niche or found a need for something and made it himself. But more on that next week.
But we love it. We really love when cinematographers or whoever using equipment on daily basis, filming on daily basis, come up with an idea that can contribute to the industry and do something a bit different.
All right, so Hollyland just announced a 4K webcam, which actually looks like an action camera.
Yeah, and it actually looks like, there are now several manufacturers that will, in terms of design, will have something similar. But I have to say that I really like what they did. They tried to enlarge the sensor a little bit. I can't call it large sensor. Yeah, this is a bit bigger than normal.
So 1/1.5 inch.
That's right. But what they did do is including the receiver of their wireless audio system from one of the large system into it, so you literally need just the transmitter. Yeah, so that's actually very nice, and of course it's
and it's easy, of course, because if it's connected to the computer, it will automatically take the audio.
Exactly. So you might have a better audio already, or if you're doing presentations or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, of course it has entire AI features, gestures, and so on. This is nothing new by now. But I think what I really like is also the new software that they have. They have it's called Holly Studio, and with this Holly Studio, it can control so many parameters basically.
Oh, you can also you can mount it vertically too.
That's right.
Yeah. For live streams.
Yeah, you can. So on one hand, it's a 4K thing. And I think it can be very versatile, of course, connecting with USB-C to your computer. But $150. This is really amazing how the prices are becoming so competitive. This is for the basic kit. And there's, of course, an enhanced kit with the transmitter, the Lark A1, but it all depends on your needs.
I like the fact that it's now become so easy to have wireless transmitters connected directly, whether it's phones or cameras like this. So you don't actually need the receiver anymore because it's kind of built in. That's becoming very much standard now for a lot of devices.
Yeah, we just have to wait that proper mirrorless will have the proper...
That's the next step, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. That is also going to be built in. Yeah, great. All right. Leica. Now, I just want to mention that briefly. I wrote a very long article on the transformation that Leica has gone through. Just because it's very interesting, and it might be a sign of how to do this, how to manage to survive as a very traditional premium brand in a very much changing market situation. Now, Leica, as many of you might know, came out of a very deep crisis, which was almost bankrupt, actually.
When was this? How many years ago?
That was, let me check actually when that was. 2005. So 20 years ago. of course, I mean, they have a very big history, very, very long history. Leica actually almost invented the rangefinder camera. They built the first 35 millimeter practical 35 millimeter camera. When I say practical, I mean a camera that you could hold in your hands and that wasn't, like this one actually, that wasn't monstrosity in terms of like how big it was. I mean, this is from 1914, can you believe it? 110 years ago, 111 years ago. And it already, I mean, it's not that it looks so much different today, right? A rangefinder camera, you still had something to look through, and it was amazing. They also actually, I only found out after I finished writing this article that Leica is the inventor of the autofocus, and they didn't actually see too much potential in it, so they sold it to Minolta.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And Minolta is Sony. So
no,
do you think?
Yeah. It's not. The patents have run out long ago, of course, so everybody can use it.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, they invented autofocus, of course, for photo, but still, I mean, this company has so much history,
and they didn't see potential.
And
wow.
So, I mean, this whole piece is based on a long article I read in a German publication called Manager Magazine, and I did a bit more research to add a bit of more technical thoughts. But basically, their new camera, the MEV1, which we did not report about simply because it has zero video features. It only is a photo camera. Mm-hmm. Now, this is their first camera that was recently announced that does away with the optical rangefinder viewfinder. Yeah. So this is an OLED viewfinder now. And it's a bit of a, for traditional Leica users, it's not easy to digest, I would say. Whereas others love it, and basically, I mean, the whole deal is that they're trying to reinvent themselves or have really reinvented themselves and are financially very successful. Now, there's the owner of Leica is Dr. Andreas Kaufmann, who is actually an Austrian entrepreneur. I think he made his money in printing before that, and he decided to salvage Leica 20 years ago by buying what was left, basically, and building into what it was. And it is a remarkable turnaround. I mean, they've only a couple of years ago, they opened the new headquarters at their original location in Wetzlar in Germany. Of course, I mean, the whole company does a lot of different things, and they are also in a lot of other optical departments that are not necessarily related to, photography and so on. But it's just a very interesting turnaround, and and a lot of it is dealing with how the new camera is being perceived by the industry, which is also because we didn't review it. I looked at some other reviews and I quoted some other reviews. It's like how the philosophy of, like what is a rangefinder these days, because essentially a rangefinder is a camera a small camera where you don't actually look through the lens, unlike a DSLR where the mirror actually, which makes the whole contraption bigger, right? Because you have a mirror that kind of focuses your eye through the actual lens, and you see through the lens. But with a rangefinder, you see just above the lens actually, and you never get exactly the same image. However, it in old times kind of it allowed camera manufacturers to make a much smaller camera package. Now, of course, with digital cameras and with digital viewfinders, that problem ceased to exist, right? Mirrorless cameras are essentially rangefinders in that way that they can be built quite small because you have an optical connection to what you actually see through the lens, and you see literally what you're recording. But it's not a rangefinder in the sense that you have this optical thing. So the whole philosophy change of kind of getting rid of that is, of course, for a traditional manufacturer like Leica, which is deeply rooted in photography, not filmmaking. is a whole different saga, I would say. But yeah, I mean the whole it deals with all of that. Also, of course, Lights, which is their brand of cinema lenses, high-end cinema lenses that they have, which have also been remarkably successful and very popular.
And mobile phones.
And the cooperation, of course, with Xiaomi mostly, which is really has brought them into mobile phones. Yes, that's correct. And like if you look at this, I mean, this was announced. The Xiaomi 15 Ultra comes with a photography kit. It literally looks like a camera. I mean, it's all Leica lenses, Summilux lenses on this. And it's a cooperation with a Chinese phone manufacturer, which was something that, probably was unthinkable a couple of years ago or even 5 years ago. And they were one of the companies who really broke that. We've seen Zeiss do a similar thing with other manufacturers, just really have that brand, like a traditional brand like Zeiss, Leica, on Chinese phones now.
Yeah, but this is not only a sticker. I think from what we know,
it's the lenses.
Exactly. No, I mean the lenses are not only a sticker lens. They really take care of this.
They even have an R&D in the Xiaomi headquarters in China. They have an R&D. They call it Institute together with Leica, where they're working on the optical design of these things. So it's not just a sticker, like you said. And last but not least, of course, the L mount, which is the Leica mount, which we just talked about with the SIRUI lenses, which was something that has been initiated by them to kind of, that it's actually the newest full frame mount that we have in the market, right? Which more and more manufacturers are being added to. And
Well, I think the latest one is maybe Z mount from Nikon, but I can't remember who was first.
I think L mount is newer, but anyway.
But what I'm really, really, really tempted to do for me, and I want to talk about Leica for filmmaking. The camera from Leica that I really liked is the original SL Type 601, and this was introduced exactly 10 years ago. 2015, and that's when we reviewed it, and I can't believe it, 10 years already gone like that. I'm very tempted to try and find this camera somewhere and retest it with modern lenses this time, maybe even anamorphic and so on, because that's the reason why this camera is so much stuck in my head. It didn't have a noise reduction applied when filming, and that changed the whole picture. It looked so organic, it looked so good, that was, for me, wow. And even now, after testing so many cameras in the market, I have to say that I always come back, and I really want to see, sometimes it's the decision. Should I even touch it or still have this memory that it's really great, or come back to it? But I really want to come back to it.
Probably only HD, right?
No, 4K.
Really?
Yeah. I think originally it was 8-bit, maybe originally, but they also had their log implemented. If you remember, it was completely
Wow.
and it was completely milky at that time. The video thing was very new to them, and it was so milky that you could hardly focus at that time, like when you shoot on a flat picture profile. But maybe hopefully that was enhanced too, because the nice thing is that even 10 years later, the company is still releasing from time to time firmware update for that camera. I think the last one was maybe 2 years ago, so it can actually work with their latest batch of lenses, for example.
Interesting.
So I'm very, very curious. But if you have a bit of time, maybe you can look at the original Leica SL review that we did. I filmed literally baking Christmas cake, but it looks very filmic.
Yeah, let's if you can go back to that and test some newer lenses with this.
Imagine it's going to be camera of the year 2025, a camera from 2015.
People will be like, what? Yeah. But in general, remarkable turnaround, and maybe something that, some other manufacturers, traditional manufacturers that might be in trouble now, hint, hint, with high-end products, maybe can take a page out of. Because what really saved them is the cooperation with others. You talk about L mount, we talk about Xiaomi. It's opening their very respected brand to other brands, which saved them in some ways. And I think that's just something to learn for others. Good. I just want to briefly mention the IMAGO Oslo Digital Cinema Conference 2025, which is about to happen next week, November 21st to 23rd. Now, this is not a huge event, it's something that usually around 100 cinematographers attend. Now, IMAGO, for those of you who don't know, is the European Federation of Cinematographers. Now, it says European, however, it's really become the International Association of Cinematographers since 2023. The ASC is also a member of this. The Brazilian association is member of this. Even the president now is a Brazilian cinematographer. It's literally the roof organization of all the cinematographers associations in the world, and they try to do things like find common standards for working, which is very difficult on a global basis, becoming more and more important, of course, with a lot of big productions literally moving around the globe, depending on who pays and where they get the best funding, and locations, of course, too. But also, like they are dealing with reality. They are dealing with what affects filmmakers, especially not only feature films, but also high-profile documentaries and so on a daily basis. And a lot of this is to do with AI. And I just wanted to highlight this because if you look at the masterclasses and deep dives that are going to happen there, you have people like David Stump, Steve Yedlin, and also Stephen Lighthill as speakers there to talk about different aspects of production. So they talk about virtual production. They talk about educating. Stephen Lighthill, actually a good friend of ours, former president of the ASC, talks about educating cinematographers in a new reality. How does AI influence film education? Because he is also the AFI Film School cinematographer discipline head and former ASC president. We have Philip Ross, AFC, the IMAGO Technical Committee co-chair, to talk about the Sunday on the Sunday he talks about the future of AI tools and how they can be implemented in post-production workflows and how they are already doing it. We have Steve Yedlin, who is of course well known as a collaborator of Rian Johnson, Last Jedi, Knives Out, Glass Onion. He was a cinematographer on those. And he's talking about HDR and how to implement HDR on set better and so on. And so we have a lot of very high profile people talking there. And it's a small event, you can sign up if you are a member of any one of those societies. It's quite cheap to attend. All, food is included and so on. It's a couple of days in Oslo. So if you have the time, I can only recommend being part of that, because it's a hint of those people are dealing with what's happening in industry on a daily basis. So it's very interesting to hear from them. Of course, at the same time, actually next week is also Camera Image. Just ahead of this, I'm sure that a lot of the people who will show up there go to Poland before for Camera Image. And if you look at a lot of the panels there, it's the same thing. I mean, AI is on everybody's mind. And I just want to highlight that because we still get so much pushback from a lot of people in our audience. We talk about anything AI related and it's tiring. It's tiring because there seem to be so many people who are still kind of like closing their eyes from what's happening. And some people really think that this is just going to go away, that they will wake up one day and everybody will realize, oh, AI is just for, and then you have some high profile filmmakers that are really, bashing it publicly, which is fine, and there's their right to do that. But it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. And I think people have just to educate themselves, even just to educate yourself to decide that it's, it's something. But it's almost like, I feel like 20 years ago when we talk about the digital filmmaking revolution, not even a DSLR revolution, but the first time digital cameras came about, and everybody was like, a lot of people were dismissing anything digital, where at that time people were already doing all the post-production digitally, visual effects and all that. And if you talk about AI, there's like workflow tools, there's things that enhances productions. There's we use it, everybody, all of us use it every day in a million different ways. And then there's generative AI, and those are different things. And it's not black or white, like it's we are as worried as many in our audience about a lot of things,
and we don't like it as many of our audience, but that's the reality, and our responsibility as a publication is just to inform you guys
it's
what's new, and you do whatever you want with this, basically.
And it's like, of course there are ethical concerns when you create things out of stuff, because that's a lot of the pushback comes from people who are saying that everything is trained on copyrighted material. You don't have to do that. You can use it in a way that it only uses your own material, right? So that's the whole course we did with Drew Shirazi is about, for example, ethical use of that, because he's using his own stuff to enhance only what he shot and then build on that, for example. But I'm just saying, it's like you see the top of the pops kind of in our industry really putting this center stage in all the events that are currently happening. So you finally need to wake up that this is something you need to educate yourself about, and not just give a constant pushback. All right, enough of that. And let's move on to a little bit of a design update. We just published an article which is just explaining how we updated the gear guides. We're constantly working in the background. This is something that a lot of people might not be aware of, but we're constantly working on making the site better. Now, our whole gear guide section, which is a lot of the deals posts also, but also, you recently did a nice gear guide on monitors, for example. We updated the design of that to make it better on mobile, but also on desktop, which is simply giving you a better overview of what's there and just better usability, basically a new layout that enhances what it looks like, and the usability just gets better. It's a very simple thing, but we're constantly working on things and making them more usable. We're investing a lot of money actually in developers, to be honest, like too much, I guess. But I think we think it's worth it for you guys. All right, Adamus announced the Ninja TX Go. Just very briefly, a new version of their Ninja, which is HDMI only. And so the big feature of this new one is that you have camera control integration. This is an update that I think will only come, but supported cameras will include Canon, Fujifilm, Nikon, Panasonic, Sony, Zcam, and also even some other manufacturers. Now, of course, this is nice because this will be a free over-the-air update for both the Ninja TX Go and Ninja TX units, which is nice, especially if you think about Small HD, which just announced another paid firmware update for $400 to control Canon cameras. Now, the implementation of their camera control is very nice. And of course, Small HD monitors are used in a lot of rental houses also and so on. But still, if you think about how many manufacturers now, like also port keys and so on, offer this for free, and Adamus, it's quite amazing that this is added as a free feature now. Now, this recorder uses CF Express Type B cards, which is nice. Also, like industry standard. We've seen Adamus recently move into this. And of course, integration with their Adamus cloud service and so on. There's a comparison also to the Ninja TX. Basically, the Ninja TX had SDI and HDMI, and this one, because it's a little bit more budget, is HDMI only, which is enough for a lot of people. And I think you also lost the Air Glue wireless timecode synchronization with this new one, and 8K 30p raw recording. This one only does 6K. So it's a little bit down-specced, but it's also a bit more budget-friendly at $800 or 680 euros. Good. And
that's it.
No, that's one more, last thing. Okay. Rode announced a kind of mini version of their Rodecaster Video. It's called Rodecaster Video S. It's essentially a budget and smaller version of their video switcher. Now, this one loses an HDMI port. It only has 3 HDMIs. And other than that, it has most of the same technology inside. It's smaller. And I guess they are aiming for, like more on-the-go usage, because the normal Rodecaster video, not that it's big, but it is bigger. This one is smaller. So this one has 4 NDI inputs, but only 3 HDMIs. And I mean, the whole system is, of course, I asked Felix beforehand, who's our audio guy here, that basically, I mean, like if you want to decide between this and something like an ATEM Mini ISO, like we're using here also, this one is really for great audio, right? I mean, Rode is really an audio company with added video, and with Blackmagic, it's the other way around. So you can expect better preamps and better audio quality out of this, whereas with Blackmagic design, it's all about video. And of course, I mean, the biggest downside for me as a video person still is that the Rodecaster Video and also the Rodecaster Video S does not generate a EDL or DaVinci projects or something like this. We work with this every week here in the studio. We have a Rodecaster 2 actually that Felix uses for the audio recording, and we have an Blackmagic ATEM Mini ISO, which is actually recording the separate camera streams and the live cuts that he makes. But he also gets a DaVinci project, which of course opens up all the post-production, like all the fixes he needs to do after we're done recording, which is something you cannot do on the Rodecaster video. You just get a cut down, you get the cuts and that's it. And you might get do you get the separate tracks? You get the separate tracks, but you will, like, if you want to change anything about those cuts, you will have to recut the whole thing as a multicam project, which is not great. I mean, I think the Rodecaster Video therefore is mostly targeted at live production, where of course post-production doesn't really make any sense anyway. But I wish they could add this feature, because I remember they hinted at that at some point, but I don't know what the holdup is here. But we wish this could be added at some point. All right, let's wrap it up.
Yep.
That was a long episode. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Nino.
Thanks everybody for watching. Stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, YouTube. Leave a comment. Write us at podcast@cined.com if you have a question or comment, and we'll try to cover it next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.